Okay, hello everyone. Okay, so the next program is bank charges. Okay, so a bank charges a base fee of $10 per month plus the following check fees for a commercial checking account. So these are the fees. A bank is going to charge 10 cents each for less than 20 checks. Okay, if the user orders 20 to 39 checks, the bank is going to charge 8 cents for each check that the customer or the customer orders. And for 40 to 59 checks, it's going to be 6 cents, 4 cents for 60 or more checks. But also remember the base fee of $10. So they're going to charge you a $10 base fee plus your fees here based on how many checks you order. So write a program that asks for the number of checks written for the month. The program should then calculate and display the bank's service fees for the month. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll create a class. And then once we start creating the program, it will make more sense. Okay, so public class, I'm going to call it bank charges. Okay, I'm not going to space too much. All right. I'm going to create the main method. Okay, so we are going to be asking the user to enter in some information. We're going to be asking for user input. So it says write a program that asks for the number of checks written for the month. So because we're going to be using or asking the user to enter something, we need to use one of Java's features, for asking for input from a user. So I'm going to go ahead and use the JOptionPane class for this one because in the previous programs I think I used a scanner. So I'm just going to be switching between scanner and JOptionPane. And for this one, I'm going to be using the JOptionPane. So before that, I need to import it, and I need to import it so that the program can have access to the class, so that it can use it. So it's going to be import javax.swing.jOptionPane. Okay, I don't need to create or declare an object, because with the JOptionPane you just use it, unlike the scanner class where you have to create an object. But with the JOptionPane you don't have to create an object. So first of all, okay, we have the details here, and the question says we should ask for the number of checks written for the month. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to ask the user, how many checks did you or let's say how many checks were written for the month. Okay, so I'm going to use the JOptionPane's show input dialog to prompt for user input, and I'm going to type in the label, which is going to be how many checks were written for the month. For the month. Okay, so we need to when we ask this question, the user is going to type in something, and we need a place to store the response. So we need a variable to hold that response that the user is going to type. But remember, the JOptionPane, everything that the JOptionPane returns is returned as a string. So even though it's asking for how many checks, it's going to be a number. How many checks were written for the month? The user is going to enter either 2 or 5 or 7. Everything that's returned from the JOptionPane's show input dialog is a string. So it doesn't matter if the person types 2. That 2 is going to be returned as a string. So we need to first store that response in a string variable, and then later on we're going to use the methods in the methods in Java's wrapper classes to convert them to either integers or doubles or whatever we need them to be. So first of all, we need a string variable to hold a response. And that string variable is going to be, I'm just going to call it, oops, sorry. My typing is just bad. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so string. All right, so string, and I'm going to call it user input. Just user input. Okay, so I'm going to store the response in user input here. So we'll have the response as a string stored here, even if the user types in 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. And once we have it in that variable, we need to convert it to a number so we can use it, because it's how many checks were written for the month. It's going to be an integer because it's either going to be 2 or 3 or 4. We can have 2.5 checks or 3.7 checks. So it's going to be an integer, a whole integer. So we need to convert this response as a string into an integer so we can use that number in calculations. So I'm going to use one of Java's wrapper class methods, okay, to convert it. All right, so it's going to be integer dot pass int, and I'm going to what I'm passing into an int is going to be the user input. So what I'm passing into an integer is the user input, okay. And once I finish passing the user input into an integer, I need a place to store it, because it's going to be now passed into an integer. I need a place to store it. So that means I need an integer variable to hold that response. Okay, so in that case, I need an integer variable to hold the value of this. So I'm going to declare another integer variable. It's going to be int. And I'm going to call it user number of checks. Okay, user number of checks. So once we finish passing the user input, which was stored as a string, into an integer, now we can go ahead and store it in user number of checks. So now we have the user number of checks. So we can go ahead and check or test on the user number of checks to see how many checks, to see what range it falls in, whether it's less than 20, whether it's 20 or 39, whether it's between 40 or 59, whether it's between 20 or 39, whether it's between 40 or 59, whether it's 60 or more, to be able to know what price or what fee we should give to them. But remember, it's this fee each per check. So if the user ordered, let's say 2 checks, then it's going to be 10 cents each. So it's going to be 20 cents for 2 checks, plus the base fee, and altogether that's going to be the service fees for the bank, okay, or for the month. Okay, so now we have the number. We have the number in user number of checks. All right, sorry about that. All right, so we have the number in user number of checks, so we can go ahead and then test on that user number of checks to see what value it is, to see what range it falls in. Okay, so I'm going to open an if statement so we can test on it. Okay, so I'm going to say if user number of checks. Remember, the first range is 10 cents each for less than 20 checks. Okay, so if the user's number of checks, right, is less than 20, because it says here less than 20 checks, then it's 10 cents each. Okay, 10 cents per check. So in that case, now what is this 10 cents per check? Plus this $10. What is it? It's going to be, remember the program says the program should calculate and display the bank's service fees for the month. So now we are trying to calculate the bank service fees. So once we've found out how many checks the user got, or how many checks were written, now we can go ahead and calculate the service fees. So we need a variable to hold the service fees. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a variable. It's going to be a double, and I'm going to call it service fee. So I'm going to call it bank service fees. Oh, what am I doing? Bank service fees. Okay, and while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and create one more variable, but it's going to be a constant. It's going to be a final. It's not a variable, it's a constant. Okay, it's like a variable, but it's a constant. It doesn't change whilst the program is running, unlike variables that change whilst the program is running. Constants don't change whilst the program is running, and that constant is going to be the $10 base fee. This value is fixed. It doesn't change, and that's why I'm going to store it in a final variable. A constant, because I can go ahead and not create that variable, but I'm doing that because it's more efficient, so that if the bank changes their base fee to $20, they don't have to go through the program and change it everywhere. Everywhere they use this $10 in the calculation. I can just come up here and change it, and it will reflect in everywhere that they use this $10 base fee in the program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a constant, and it's going to be a final double because it's an amount. It's a dollar amount. This could change to $10.20. The bank can change their fee. So I'm going to change it, store it as a double, final double, which is going to be equal to. Oops! I need to give it a name. Sorry, final double. I'm going to call it bank. Oops! Sorry, not bank service fees, but bank base fee. And bank base fee is going to be equal to 10. Okay. All right. So the same thing. This is double because the bank service fees is a dollar amount. So that's why it's a double. It could be $1.20 or something like that. So if the user number of checks is less than 20, then let's go ahead and calculate the bank service fees. The bank service fees. Yeah, the bank service fee is going to be equal to, remember, the user is going to pay the $10 base fee for the bank. Base fee, which is $10. The user is going to pay that. So that's fixed. So the bank service fees is going to include the bank base fee. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. And then now plus. Now I'm going to open parentheses. We need to calculate the other fees. Now remember that it's still the bank service fees, but the bank service fees is going to include the bank base fees plus the amount of checks that they ordered multiplied by how much they are charging for each check, how much the bank is charging for each check. But it's all based on the number of checks they ordered. So if the number of checks they ordered is less than 20, bank service fee is going to be the bank base fee, $10. In this case, they are charging, because it's less than 20 over here, they are charging 10 cents each for all the checks, for the checks that the user typed or the user entered. So in that case, I'm going to multiply the checks that the user entered, user number of checks, times how much they're charging for each check if the number of checks is less than 20, and in this case it's 10 cents, so times 0.10 cents. You can also do 0.10 cents, but I'm going to do 0.10 cents, and we are done. And then we've calculated the bank service fees if the user's check is less than 20. So I'm going to go ahead and create the bank service fees for each range. So if the user's number of checks, okay, is not less than 20, okay, else if, I'm going to create an else if statement. Okay, so if the user's number of checks is not less than 20, if the number is not less than 20, then that means that it's 20 and above. And for all the numbers 20 and above, we want the ones less than 40. Okay, so don't get confused here. Okay, if the number is not less than 20, think about it. If the number is not less than 20, then that means that number is 20 and above. Okay, so when the program gets here, we are dealing with numbers 20 and above, and for all the numbers 20 and above, we want the ones that are less than 40. So any number 20 and above but less than 40 is 20 to 39. Okay, that's why it's just like we're filtering out. Once we filtered out all the numbers less than 20, we are left with 20 and above. And we want the numbers all the numbers 20 and above, but we want the numbers 20 and above, but also less than 40, which leaves us with 20 to 39. Okay, so in that case, it's the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it. In that case, then your bank service fees is going to be the bank base fee of $10 plus the user's number of checks times 8 cents, because if your number of checks is within this range is is 20 to 39, then you're paying 8 cents per check. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to 8 cents per check. Okay, so let's continue. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and I'll change the range. And I'll go ahead and I'll change the range. Okay, so over here, we are here, okay. So if the user number of check is not less than 40, okay, if it's not less than 20, if it's not less than 40, then that means that it's either it's 40 and above, not either. If it's not less than 20, if it's not less than 40, that means it's 40 and above, okay. And for all the numbers 40 and above, we want the numbers less than 60. Okay, for all the numbers 40 and above, we also want the ones less than 60, because if it's not less than 40, then it's either 40 and above. Okay, so we want 40 and above and also less than 60, which leaves us with 40 to 59. Okay, so let's say if I cover all of this, imagine I'm going to cut it, and after I'll undo it. If the number is not less than 40, then that means we have, it's either, it's not either, I'm keep on saying either. If the number is not less than 40, then it's 40 or above. And for all the numbers 40 and above, we want the ones less than 60. So we want 40 and above, but less than 60. So that leaves us with 40 to 59. And in that case, we're paying, the bank fees are going to be, the bank fee, I don't know why I say fees. I'm going to change this variable to fee, okay? Just change it to fee. You can change it if you want. It just doesn't sound okay because it's just a fee. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, I think it's it was saying just calculate the bank fees, with these ones. That's what the question meant. But all right, so bank fee. So in that case, if the range is 40 to 59, then the bank fee is going to be the bank service fee is going to be equal to the bank base fee plus the number of checks that the user entered times 6 cents per check. So I'm going to change this to 6 cents. And we have one more range. If the number of checks is not less than 60, okay, if it's not less than 60, then it's 60 and above. Okay, so if the program manages to reach here, and that number is not in any of these ranges, then that means that number is 60 and above. Okay, if it's not less than 20, if it's not less than 40, if it's not less than 60, then that means it's 60 and above. So in that case, that's what we have here, 60 or more checks. So we can go ahead and put an else here, and the program will actually know that we'll know that that's what you are implying. Okay, all right. So I'm going to go, or you can actually also go ahead and be explicit about it and go ahead and say else if the user number of checks is greater than or equal to 60. You can do that. But if you say else, the program will be able to know that that's what you imply. Okay, imply by else. It's going to know that, okay, if the number is not in any of these ranges, then that number is greater than or equal to 60. If it's not less than 60, then it's 60 or more. So the program will know what you're implying. Okay. So in that case, if it's not any of these, then so that's what else means. Else, then the bank service fees, okay, is going to be 4 cents. 4 cents per check. Okay, the user's number of checks times 4 cents plus the bank's base fee. Okay, and then once we've done that, we've covered all ranges. So now we've been able to calculate all the fees. I mean we've been able to calculate the bank fees if that's the case. Okay, let me make sure. Yeah, that's fine. Everything's good. Okay, so once we finish calculating the fees, now all we have to do is display it. Okay. So I'm going to format it because I'm using the G-option pane. I'm going to use a string.format method to format it well, and then I'll display it. So I'm going to use a string.format method, and I'm going to format a string, and then I'm going to format a string. So the string I'm going to format is, I'm going to use a format specifier. Okay, so the string I'm going to format is, let me see, the program says the program should then calculate and display the bank service fees for the month. Okay, so I'm going to say, I'll just go ahead and just make it simple. Service fees. Service fee. I don't know why they say fees. Okay, service fee. Service fee. I get it. I think they're just trying to say go ahead and calculate the fees. Fees as in each fee for each of these. So I guess fees, but ultimately it's a fee. Okay, so service fee service fee is going to be equal to, oops, what am I doing? I'm sorry, I'm not concatenating it. I'm using a string.format method and I'm formatting it. So service fee is going to equal to percentage F. It's a placeholder. Okay, this is a format. I'm going to create a format specifier. Now this is a placeholder. Percentage F is that this percentage F is going to a float value is going to replace this percentage F, and that float value is going to be service fees, bank service fee. So this is a placeholder for a float, and this bank service fee float variable is going to replace this float. But I want to format it. Because it's going to be a dollar amount, I want to put a dollar sign in front of it. And because I want commas to separate the values where necessary, it's going to do that automatically. If you have a 10000, it's going to put commas in between them to make it look like a dollar amount. So because I want commas to separate it, I'm going to put a comma in between the percentage and the F here. And that's the first thing I put. And because I don't want to see all the decimal numbers, the numbers after the decimal. I don't want to see 1.00.12. I don't want that. I want to round it to 2 decimal places. So I'm going to use a 0.2 after the comma in between the percentage and the F. So the comma comes first, and then the 0.2 follows, meaning round to 2 decimal places. So it's going to round this bank service fee to 2 decimal places, put commas where necessary, and put a dollar sign in front of it. And after I've finished formatting this whole string, I need a place to store it. I need another string to store it. So I'm going to create another string here, and I'm going to say output. Okay, I'm going to say output. Just create output. And I'm just going to say fee outputs, just so it makes sense. Sorry. You can name it something else. You can say bank service fee output or something, or service fee outputs. but I'm going to name it you know what, I'm tempted. I'll just go ahead and do that. Service fee output. Okay, so service fee output. Okay, service fee output. All right, so after I finish formatting it this way, I'm going to store it in service fee output. And after I have the string formatted in service fee output, all I have to do is now display it. So I'm going to use the GOption panes. I'm going to use the GOption panes show message dialog to display it. I keep typing all sorts of stuff today. I don't know. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to use the GOption panes show message dialog method, and I don't need double quotes. You see, I keep on typing all sorts of stuff. All right, so GOption pane show message dialog, because I have it in a variable, I don't need double quote. Everything is formatted and ready to be printed out. So everything is formatted in the variable, so I can just go ahead and and I thought I copied it, and paste the variable in this. So I'm just displaying the content of this variable, so I don't need double quotes around it. So I'm done. Good, because I've already formatted it here, and I've stored the formatted string in this variable. So I'm just displaying this variable, the formatted string. So I'm done. And one more thing, anytime we use a GOption pane, we need a system.exit method. I'm going to pass it as 0, and the system.exit is going to terminate that extra. There's always an extra thread, you know, that's started anytime you use the GOption pane. So you have to terminate that thread. I'm using the system.exit method to terminate it, and I'm passing in a 0. And then later on, I can use a variable to receive this return value of 0, and test on that value and see if I go to 0. And if I go to 0, it's normally an indication that the program was able to get to this point, and it's an indication that, you know, the program ran successfully. Okay, so now that I've terminated the thread and you know, I've done everything, then I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and compile it, and I'll go ahead and create another folder. Sorry. I'll go ahead and create another folder, and then I'll call it bank charges. And then I'll create the folder, and I'll save it here, bank charges. Okay, so we have an error. So the error says show message dialog. Okay, I think it's missing, the method is missing a couple of arguments. The show message dialog needs a couple of arguments. So the first argument that goes in the show message dialog is null. And what null does is null is going to basically center the window, you know, on the screen. It's going to place that window, show the message in the center of the screen. And there are a couple of other arguments that can go here, but now we'll center it for now. So but for now, all we need is null, just to center the window on the screen. And then we can go ahead now and display our output. So that's why I was complaining. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and compile it, and it compiled successfully. All right, so I'm going to run it and hope for not hope, actually, yeah, I mean hope, but wait for the window to pop up, the GOption pane input dialog to pop up, so we can test the program. It's taking too long. I don't know why nowadays it's taking too long, but I have so many processes running. I think it's already here. Oh, let's see. Oh, it's already here. It was running, but it was, you know, running. And, you know, I think I clicked on this window. So, okay. Sorry about that. All right. So, how many checks were written for the month? I'm going to enter 0. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK. So the service, because I didn't order any checks, I'm going to go ahead and pay the $10 base fee. The $10 base fee. It doesn't matter if I order checks or not. I'm still going to go ahead and pay the $10 base fee. So that's why the service fee is $10. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to run it again. And this time I'm going to enter 12 checks. And I'm going to hit 12 checks is less than 20. So I'm expecting to pay 10 cents each for the 12 checks that I ordered, plus the $10 base fee. So let's do the calculation here. I have my $10. Okay, I have my $10. Okay, but I have 12 checks, and because it's less than 20, I'm going to pay 10 cents for each of the 12 checks. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do the calculation. So 12 times 0.10. Okay, 0.10. That's going to give us 1.2, which is $1.20. Okay, but remember, I'm also going to pay the base fee, so plus 10, and that's going to give me $11.20. So I'm expecting $11.20 when I type in 12 checks. I'm going to hit OK, and service fee is $11.20. You can go ahead and test it, and it should work. So let's type something. Let's run again and type something greater than 60. I'm going to run it one more time, and I'm going to type in 120 checks. I'm going to hit OK, and it says that service fee is $14.80. And let's just cross check. We have our $10 base fee, but how many checks did I type? I forgot. I think we 120. Okay, let's just make sure. I think I entered 120. Okay, so because 120 was over 60. Let me just make sure. Hold on. I just forgot. All right. So 120. Yeah, I think I typed 120. Okay, so 120 checks is 60 or more. So I'm paying 4 cents per each check. So I have 120 checks. I'm multiplying by 4 cents, 0.04. And that's going to give me $4.80. But plus my $10 base fee, which is $14.80. Okay, $14.80, not 8 cents, 80 cents. So $14.80. So the program works. And if you have any questions, please comment down below as always, and I'll do everything to reply to them. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next program. Bye bye.